Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to the Gothenburg area once again, or Göteborg I should say in Swedish, and we're going to a little town called Jonsered, which is just kind of out to the northeast of the city. So we're going to go back to Poppels Bryggeri and we're having a taste of another beer from their Projekt range, and they always seem to throw up some really nice things in this series, and if they do well of course and people like them, they do actually tend to put them into their regular range. So this one is Projekt and they're describing this one as a triple IPA, New England style. It comes in at 10.5% ABV, and this was another one of the beers that was released in the 17th of August small partiers through Systembolaget. So looking forward to trying this one. As I say, I've had some very positive experiences with these Poppels Projekt beers, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Poppels Bryggeri before. No doubt I will add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Poppels Bryggeri then. So Poppels Bryggeri were originally based in a little town called Mölnlycke, which is to the southeast of Gothenburg, but now, as I mentioned to you, they're based in Jonsered, which is kind of to the northeast as well. But the brewery is named after that which was owned by Johan Poppel, who was a well-known German-Swedish brewer who spent most of his life in Varberg and Göteborg. But he was born between 1605 and 1610 in Lower Saxony in Germany, and then moved to Sweden with his family during the 1620s. There he met his wife Katarina Krakow sometime between 1624 and 1628, and later he founded Gothenburg's first brewery with her, officially dated in 1649, but it's thought that they were brewing since sometime around 1638. But he's also said to have written down the protocol of the city of Gothenburg in Swedish for the first time as opposed to German. But the brewery apparently remained in the Poppels family for a number of years, and the most famous site of this brewery in Gothenburg was at Stigbergstorget, and of course, you know, if you've got Stigbergets brewery in Gothenburg these days as well. But this current incarnation of the brewery was founded in 2012 in Mölnlycke on a site that was apparently owned by the Poppels family. But the brewery is owned by 15 beer lovers, and it aims to focus on the pairing of beers with food, and the current head brewer is Daniel Granat, who's a bit of an experimenter and a perfectionist when it comes to his beer. So he brews most of his new beers 4 and 5 times just to get the recipe as good as he can get it, or just how get it to the point where he's really satisfied with it, I guess you could say. But apparently he also reads many beer blogs and keeps up to date with a lot of the different kind of brewing techniques and things like that that's going on. But in 2015 they moved to this new site in Jonsered to the east of Gothenburg, and they've also got a restaurant up there and shop as well. But they also now boast the title of Sweden's largest organic beer producer, which I think is really quite cool actually. And Poppels Bryggeri, from what I gather, are starting to export a lot of their beers out to America and to the rest of Europe and things like that. The guys over in England like Peter and Craig and everything like that do beer videos, they were telling me that they've tried a couple of beers from Poppels as well. And I think when I came to Sweden, they were still only really available in Sweden, Norway, Denmark I think, but they have expanded a lot in the 3 years since I came here. And as I say, an organic brewer who are doing some really interesting stuff. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about this brewery just now. I will need to make sure I review some more of their beers in the near future, because there's quite a few of the core beers that I've not reviewed. But the Russian Imperial Stout that these guys did, somebody requested that reviewed, I think just before I left, before I went away from Sweden for the year, and I reviewed that and it was really pretty good. So I will need to make sure I review more of those core beers. But there you can see, there's the artwork from this one, the triple IPA New England style, Projekt number 13, and it says on the side, the beer you have in your hand is a triple New England IPA, an interesting variant of a number of traditional New England IPAs. An ale with, I'm not sure what that is, but with juicy and strong hop bitterness, I think, with a sweet tone as well. So yeah, really kind of interesting, this one. I'm really excited to see how this one turns out. I had a double IPA from these guys before, which I really quite enjoyed. But yeah, there is the Poppels Bryggeri symbol on this one. But yeah, nicely presented. The thing that's always cool about the Poppels beers as well is they've always got this little kind of food pairing-y sort of taste thing down here. So they're saying that this one, the hops are very strong in this one. So definitely looking forward to having a go at that. 35 IBUs, which is kind of interesting. I would have thought the IBUs would be a bit higher in this. This isn't too much more in terms of bitterness than Pilsner Urquell. But without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. 10.5% triple IPA. Really interested to see this. I think this one, oh, you can smell some of the lovely fruits off this, just as you open it up. See how we get on with this. There we are. Look at that. So yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured. It's actually poured a really nice kind of pale, goldeny straw colour. There's a solid finger and a third maybe, of a frothy, I would say. Yeah, perfect white head on that one. It's not even got a little bit of creaminess to it. Definitely a perfect white head. Just because of the condensation on the glass, you can't really see, but this beer is pretty much transparent. If you wiped away that condensation, this beer really would be very transparent. There's little tiny bits of particles floating around in this one. I was sure if it looked as if this one had, it had been sitting for maybe a week or two, and the carbonate, the sediment had kind of got a hold of this, but I'm sure if you had this one straight away, it would be a little bit more hazy in terms of its appearance than the other one, or than it is at the moment. But one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head. But yeah, in terms of appearance, it's pretty much what you would expect from an IPA, although this one, as I say, is a little bit more of a kind of goldeny straw colour than some of the other ones that I've come across. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Oh, I'll tell you something, right away, you can smell how boozy this beer is. There's a nice bit of malty quality to this one. You can definitely smell a bit of that bready quality in there. It's almost got a little bit of a bread and butter note as well, and there's a little touch of the grainy note. I've always found when it comes to organic malt, you can always pick out a little bit of that. It just smells a little bit different. It always tastes a little bit different as well. It's almost, some of the organic beers that I had in Germany had this almost kind of chalky thing to the sort of flavour. It wasn't to the flavour, but it was just to the mouthfeel, if you like. It just had that little bit more of a kind of thickness on the malt base. But yeah, the aroma of this one is really nice. As I say, a little bit of biscuit, there's a little touch of caramel in there, but you've got that big bready and almost slightly grainy quality coming out of the malt base. And of course, you've got a good bit of floral aromaticity to this one. There's almost a little touch of there is a little bit of an earthiness to this one, to be honest, and a little bit of a herbal quality as well. So just pay attention to that, but there's a good fruity quality to this beer. So in terms of the fruitiness, I think there's oranges in there. It was mangoes that I was picking up as well, so maybe there's I suspect maybe there's Citra in this one. Citra's quite common, of course. There could be Amarillo. It could be a little bit of Mosaic, actually, because there is a little bit of an almost blueberry-ish quality to this beer, and that would kind of tell you. That would be Mosaic if it's that, because Mosaic gives you a little bit of that tangerine orange, but it also gives you the blueberries. But yeah, oranges. There's a little bit of as I say, oranges. There's not really a grapefruity note to this one. Yeah, oranges and mangoes. And I think a little bit of a berryish note as well. I think there is Citra and Mosaic in this one. I always like playing Guess the Hops when it comes to these beers, but I'm not picking up too much else in terms of the fruit. I think the main ones, I think, are oranges and mangoes. And you get there is a little bit of that kind of lychee note from this one. That's one of the complexities that you get from Citra. I do suspect that there is Citra in here. And I think there's also a little bit of a kind of blueberry-ish, maybe, I don't know if blackcurrant could be another one. There is a little bit of that sort of type of aroma coming out of this beer. So I do suspect that there's Citra and Mosaic in this one. I always like playing Guess the Hops with these things, so if someone's watching that knows what hops are in this one, do let me know. I did a little quick Google to see if I could find out what hops were actually in this one, but there wasn't anything giving that away, not even the Facebooks. I'd be interested to hear from the guys at Poppels if I did get that right. There probably are. I would think there's probably at least another one hop in it or something like that. But let's have a taste of this one then. So this one is the Poppels Projekt nummer 13 from Poppels Bryggeri in Jonsered, just outside of Gothenburg. Let's get stuck into this beer then. Slange, skål. Yeah, it's interesting, that one. It has got a nice malty presence to it. The thing is, sometimes with these triple IPAs, you know, they can have a big bit of booziness to them, and sometimes it can just be an absolute, you know, a really big blast of a beer. Both in terms of the hoppy bitterness and in terms of that boozy quality of this one. What I'll say, my first impression of this is that they've balanced the alcohol out of that really well. The malt base they've done the malt base in this beer really quite well. I think it needs a little bit more time just to kind of open up a little bit with the hops and things. Yeah, shoodle this beer across your palate a little bit, and just let the flavour kind of open up a little bit more. But it's, what I'll say about this beer, it's very kind of straight up. It's not it's not like overly complex, but it's doing, you can see where it's going. It's trying to, it does what it wants to do very well. I think that's a good way to say where this beer is going. The malt base on this one is nice. I mean, you've got that nice little bit of bready quality there. That blankets the middle of your palate. And as you go further into the aftertaste, it does get a little bit of a touch more grainy, but there's a bit of a biscuity sweetness there that kind of balances it out. Right in the middle of the palate, I think you're getting a slight little bit of caramel there, but it's not too prominent, and that's, you know, the kind of cover up for the boozy qualities of this beer. But as you go out from the centre of your palate towards the edge of the tongue, you've got a nice little bit of that kind of biscuity sweetness to the beer. But yeah, the malt base, as I say, it's fairly simple, and it actually does cover the alcohol warmth of the beer very well. You can taste, obviously, that this beer is quite heavy in terms of its alcohol content, but the flavours that they've got in there and the breadiness that the beer has, they really do cover the alcohol very well, and it doesn't make it seem harsh or anything like that. The hoppy side of the beer is good as well. I mean, in the back corners of the palate, you've got a little touch of that earthiness there. Again, that's making me think that there's a bit of mosaic in this beer, just the way that earthiness is coming out. And as you come further forward along the sides of the palate, that earthiness, it just smooths out a little bit. At the front corners of the palate, you get a nice little bit of a slightly spicy floral aromaticity to the beer. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and grassy, so it has everything you kind of expect. As I say, it's not the most complex triple IPA that you're going to come across, but it's very straight up, and it's just trying to do what it wants to do well, and I think it actually does do that. I would say that about this beer. Yeah, the fruity qualities in this beer are really quite nice as well. So behind the front curve of the palate, that's, as I always say, that's where you get that little oily bubble where the fruity esters start to come out. So for me, you can really, you can pick out the mangoes in this one. The mangoes, and I think that will be the citra that's kind of giving you that. I think there's a little bit, if you go towards the front corners of your palate, if you move towards the edge of the tongue, I think there's a wee bit of a kind of tangerine-y, orangey quality coming out of this one, and again, that's really making me think that there's mosaic in this beer. And at the front tip of your tongue, if you like, there's a little bit of that blueberry note, and as you go further and further into the aftertaste, the blueberry comes out a little bit more, and I think you're also getting a little bit of a kind of lychee flavour, which again is one of the complexities that you get from citra. I really do suspect that mosaic and citra are the two hops that they've put in this beer. There's a little bit of a kind of apricot-y flavour coming out of this beer as well, which is quite interesting. There is a little bit, there's something more to this one in terms of tropical fruit. I don't know if it's a little bit of a kind of apricot thing. It's not sharp enough to be peaches, I don't think. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but it's quite similar to apricots, this one. But I like how everything in this beer is going together. One thing I would say about Poppels as well is that over the years that I've had their beers, the way that the malts coming out have really has improved. Like I was saying, when I first encountered organic beers in Germany, the mouthfeels of some of these were really, they had this really kind of chalky feel because of the way that the malt was conditioned and stuff like that. With Poppels beers, you don't really get that. Maybe that's a combination of having the really good Swedish water right enough. But the beers that you get from Poppels do always feel really quite clean, and you know, they don't really taste any different at all from the kind of regular non-organic beers, if you like. It's a nice triple IPA, this one. It's not the most complex one that you're going to come across, like I said. It has everything you'd want from the style though, and they've got the alcohol and things balanced in it very nice, and it's got the hoppy qualities that you want. You know, if I'm correct in saying Citron Mosaic, they've got these hops coming out really nicely. It's got that fruitiness that you want. It's got a little bit of the bitterness, although it's nowhere near the IBU level that some of these triple IPAs are going to be. 35 IBUs isn't too far away from the sort of Pilsner Urquell level, if you like. But the malt base is really nice as well. This is a beer that's kind of simple in concept, if you like, but it does what it aims to do pretty well. I think that's a fair way to kind of sum this one up. So in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel, I would say it's somewhere between the sort of lower end of full-bodied and the higher end of mid-bodied. It does have a good little bit of an oily quality to it, this one, but it's nowhere near as thick, if you like, as some of the other triple IPAs that you're going to come across. Carbonation's very smooth, the mouthfeel leans towards the oily side of things. There's a little bit of hoppy bitterness to this one. As I said, it's 35 IBUs, it's nowhere near as high, it's nowhere near as bitter as some of the variants in this style that you're going to find. The malt base is well balanced. It's quite a smooth malt base, this one, but it does have some elements of sweetness to it. There's a good little bit of juicy fruity character to the beer as well, and like I say, a good way to sum this one up is that it's quite a it's a triple IPA that's kind of simple in concept, if you like, but it's not it's not the most complex one that I think you're going to come across. In terms of being New England style as well, because that's something we haven't really said, it doesn't quite have some of the oaty qualities that you would expect from this style. It's not the kind of hazy sort of juice bomb. I mean, if I tasted this beer blind, I would probably guess that it's more a West Coast beer, to be quite honest with you. I mean, in the malt base, you do have that kind of bready note. The oaty creaminess in this one doesn't quite come out, and that's, you know, it's there's nothing wrong with the beer, if that makes sense, but when it's a New England IPA, you would expect a little bit more of the oaty quality to come out of this one. I would say that about it as well, but you know, as a beer on its own, it is pretty nice, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. I would just question a little bit whether it is a New England IPA, because to me it ticks a lot more of the boxes on the West Coast style than it does on the New England one for me. But hey, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. But it's a good beer, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So yeah, an interesting one this, and it's cool to see that Poppels are still firing out these Projekt beers. I do look forward to more of these in the future. It would be really cool to see them do a Scotch ale. I would love to see them brew a really nice organic Scotch ale at some point. That would definitely be an interesting move for them. But yeah, this was the Poppels Bryggeri Projekt Treton, the New England triple IPA that they produced for the 17th of August 2018. Definitely an interesting beer. Ticks a little bit more of the West Coast boxes for me, like I said, rather than the New England type, but a really good beer, and I do recommend that you have a go at this one. It's cool to see that the Poppels, as one of the bigger craft breweries, I guess, in Sweden, are still experimenting. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Poppels Bryggeri as well. It's been really cool to review this one for you, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out my social media, the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of these kind of things, the Untappd as well, and I will catch you guys later, and we'll review some more beers from Poppels in the very near future. Skål!